So episode 4, The Last Picture Show. The thing I really didn't like about this series to begin with was the relationship between Archie and Miss Grundy. I thought this was going to get too one note. I thought it was going to get repetitive. It was just going to get boring. It was bland. I don't like the idea of this element. It's too far for the series. I like that how they handled it in this episode. It was one of my favorite parts of this episode. Again, this was a really good episode. The series is really becoming a really good watch. But everything that happened in this episode with Archie and Miss Grundy really justifies why this story needed to happen, and for me, that's a big win. I did not want this series to happen at all. I didn't want this series to happen. And when they announced this part, I was like, well, this is weird. I don't like this. And now that they handled it well, I'm okay with that. Everything that happened with Archie in this episode, this was a very Archie-oriented episode, something we haven't seen a lot of before. The actor who plays Archie, KJ Apa, he's doing really good, and I'm really interested in his character now. I wasn't at first, but I'm really invested in Archie. His story is doing fantastic, and everything with Miss Grundy in this episode really justifies that. The characters together, they worked. Their chemistry was real. I felt it, but it had to come to an end eventually. I thought this was going to go all season, but now we have the closing statements of Miss Grundy. She's going to quit her job. She's going to leave. She has to leave Archie. And the way they get to this, I really liked, because you have Alice Cooper, Betty's mom, you have Luke Perry, and you have Betty. They all meet up with them at the school. I think they're at the school, which if you're having an affair with your student, why would you do it at the school? That seems like the most obvious place. And they meet up. They talk about this. Alice Cooper is ready to tell on them, and I really think that's interesting. One of the things I really like about the show, again, is the way it handles the parents of these characters. Because if we just had these one note of all these people, just seeing them in school, it wouldn't be the same. But to see as Luke Perry, Miss Lodge, Mrs. Lodge, all these people, it's really nice, it's really fascinating, and adds another layer to the series. And Alice Cooper is a character I think we should look out for. I think she is possibly somebody that could have killed Jason, just like we find out it could have been Miss Grundy, because she she didn't fake her death. She changed her name. She says she was in an abusive relationship with her husband, her ex-husband now. But then we see her doing the same thing we saw at the beginning of the season with some new guys at the end that she did to Archie. So something tells me she's just this kind of girl that goes around and does these kind of things. Wouldn't surprise me if we found out she killed Jason. Because we do find out from Betty, who in a really fun scene, a really interesting scene where Betty goes to interrogate her. We find out she did the same thing with Jason. Yeah, Jason Blossom and Miss Grundy have history. Could see something like that coming back up in the show. Really interesting, really fascinating, and I'm excited to see if we get more from that angle. So another one of the big parts of this episode, besides Archie and Miss Grundy, that was a character who I really like. I really like this character because she's grounded. She's this working mother who's just trying to help her daughter, but she got caught up in some things that her husband did, and that is Hermione Lodge. I love this actress. Everything she's doing is great. This episode was really about her too, which I liked, because if we had another episode about Veronica, we had one last week. We had Veronica and Chuck last week. That was a big story. But now seeing Miss Lodge have her big moment, I was really excited to see this. Something tells me we are going to see Mr. Lodge by the end of the series, and this is where you have to get the perfect casting to see who you can get to play him, because he is an important character. He's one of the most important characters in the Archie world. So we see who we have to play him. That was going to be a big thing. But everything that Hermione did in this episode, I really liked. I really liked this character. The way she had to play off of the Self-Side Serpent guy, the way she talked to her daughter, she's just doing really good. There's so much more of her character. And the scene where she is at the drive-in with Luke Perry, it was really good. It's like old friends reuniting, catching up. I really like that. It's a nice feel, nice idea for this series. Again, the angle of the parents and everything, I'm really enjoying. And just a side note for a sec, you see Luke Perry hitting on her, and you see him hitting on Miss Grundy, so he needs something. Luke Perry needs something, and that's going to be interesting to see who he gets with, if he gets with anybody. Could be one of numerous people. So yeah, Hermione Lodge, really good in this episode, really strong character. I'm excited to see where she goes, and everything with Veronica finding out what she was doing and all that, how she's taking care of the last business that her husband did in jail, how she's going to take control of her company pretty much. It's really exciting. It's really cool, and I can't wait to see who's going to play Mr. Lodge. This was not a very Veronica episode, and I like that, but there was this really good moment I liked with Veronica and Archie, where he calls her Ronnie and she calls him Archiekin. So I thought that was really cool, really cute, really ties everything that happened in the comic books, and that's really exciting to see going forward. I can't wait to see where this goes forward. Again, this is really exciting for me. I don't know why. So then there's this other underlying theme that we didn't know about, and that is Jughead and the drive-in. It's his job. It's his pretty much everything he thinks represents Riverdale. I like Jughead in this episode. His whole storyline didn't really connect to everybody else's, but he wanted everybody to come into the drive-in for the closing night, and that was really exciting. He talks to a lot of these people, and it makes you question, why is he out here when everybody else is in school? And we find out at the very end of the episode, Jughead is living in the drive-in, and now that's going to be tearing down. He's homeless. And I wasn't expecting this angle. I thought that was a really well done idea, really interesting choice to go that way. Because now we have Jughead who has to fend for himself, do his own thing. And it makes you think, where's he going to go? Part of me thinks he's going to go with Archie and Luke Perry. Part of me thinks he could go with Veronica. I don't really know. Could be a lot of stuff happening. Maybe he moves in with Cheryl Blossom. Who knows? A lot of things could happen with that. And we find out his dad is somebody part of the Southside Serpents. That's really interesting. I wasn't seeing this angle because I think I've read part of the new Mark Waid comics that come out, the most recent ones. And I think Jughead came from wealth, but his parents were broke. They lost all their money. And now that we see that Jughead's dad is part of this biker gang, it's interesting to see who his mom could be and where his sister is, because we see a picture of him and a little... I think it's his sister. It's a little girl. He's a young guy, so I think it's his sister, and exciting to see where she is. There's a lot we can see of Jughead's character, and one of the other things I really liked about this episode was all this stuff talking about Rebel Without a Cause and all the Audrey Hepburn and all these things, American Graffiti. It was really nice to see these characters talk about this, because those are movies that the characters in the 50s would have went to watch in a drive-in. So yeah, we're tying everything back up. We're getting everything together, and everything with Betty and Veronica breaking into Miss Grundy's car and all that, seeing Betty actually be like a sleuth, saying she learned it from Nancy Drew, all that stuff. That was really funny, really cool. And we see this one picture of a person named Geraldine Grundy, who's an old lady dressed like the character in the comics, and that was really fun. Great way to tie it in and everything like that. Again, I gotta specify, this was not a Betty and Veronica episode, but the scenes they had together, they have really great chemistry, and I'm really excited to see where those two characters go. And lastly, I don't really like some of the side characters they have in this series. I think Reggie is pretty one note. I think Moose could be better, but another character who I was impressed with to see in this episode was Kevin Keller. This character could have been really one note, just being the homosexual guy that everyone's like, oh, whoop-de-doo, he's not doing anything, he's just here. But no, he did really good. We see him have this big moment where he's hooking up with this one guy who works with the Southside Serpents, so that makes me think, something's going to happen here. What could it be? His dad's going to find out. Something big is going to happen to the character of Kevin Keller, and that's exciting because you don't really see that with one of the side characters. But I thought he was a main character until I read the credits, and it says guest starring the actor Casey Cott, I think is his name. And I was like, oh, so he's not really one of the main actors. So everything with Kevin in this episode, I really liked everything with Hermione Lodge. I really liked everything with Archie and Miss Grundy. I really liked, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I really hope you like this episode too. You're going to like this series, and we got our last picture show. That'll do it here. Stay tuned next week for the next Riverdale, and good luck.